Namaste to everybody. We are here today to talk about a very distressing issue, that is the boys' locker room, and related aspects that have come out in the last few days. I have with me Lavpreet Kaur, who is a final year student of engineering from Baba Banda Singh Engineering College in Punjab. She's been writing a lot on improving one's mindset, one's perception towards situations in life, and a lot of such related aspects. You can follow her work on WordPress at Sadadni Writes. So over to you, Lavpreet, on what you think about this kind of situation in the first place. So what happens is that in all this is thus Instagram and all these have become a lot more prevalent today, where you can put anything and get away with it. So, and even do not have, you don't have any fear that you will be caught someday. So, what are your views on it?
Hey Pavan, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction that you gave, and thanks to you for motivating me to start writing. I hope that whatever bit we are doing from our parts, we can successfully bring a change in the world. And about the question that you asked, then indeed the social media involvement of people across the globe is increasing right now, and we can call it the lockdown side effect. But we have to make sure that the side effect does not cause more side effects, which is going to destroy our society. So basically, being an engineer, I've witnessed and I've been a part of the change that's coming across. And one thing for sure is that we are always going to advance. We are never going to come back in terms of technology. So, what we need over here is to develop the right sense in our kids and in ourselves how to use that technology in our favor. Just because social media platforms provide us a means of communicating our thoughts and our ideas so openly, it's not that we have been given rights to exploit someone's privacy or harass someone through these media platforms. So basically, if we are using social media platforms, we must be using them to propagate good thoughts, good ideas, and good notions, not propagating bad things across the web. All the girls and boys who are teenagers, they need to know that despite of such advancement, we will never advance if our mentality is not worked upon. So we need to engineer our inner selves. Deep inside, we need to change ourselves so that we can righteously use the resources which we are being provided with. And of course, mentality plays a big role. So we are all the parents, all the people across the globe are responsible for working on the mentality of our kids so that we can raise a better youth in the future. Let's not make it an interview where you ask me questions and I give you answers, because none of us is an expert. But I think if we discuss the thing together, we can come up with a good idea or a solution. So here's what I have for you. We've always heard that boys usually have this tendency of objectifying girls and talking about girls. Do you think this is true? I mean, I'm not sure. Being a boy yourself, how do you think, what kind of feelings do you experience in the age of 16 to 18, probably, whatever the age group was of the boys in the boys' locker room? And how do you think mentality plays a big role in such scenes? Have you, as a boy, experienced something like this ever?
Thanks for your question, Lavpreet. I'd like to answer it in a very broad manner. First is adolescence and what boys undergo in adolescence. Let's start with that because it is accepted and it's known that during adolescence both the genders have a swing of hormones and results in hormonal imbalance sometimes, and that gives way to how one perceives things around him. So when a boy's age maybe 12, 13, he starts to experience this kind of hormonal swings, making him feel about someone in a particular way, feel about his classmates in a particular way. If it's a girl, he'll think about it in a different way. It starts with infatuation and peer group influence, love affairs, and all that kind of things. Then it advances to a case where he starts thinking about the body. So one will experience this kind of swing towards a girl and thinking that, you know, uh, and because of the case that we have in India, that sex education or talking about sex openly is a taboo. Because it being a taboo, he's forced to look for alternatives to know more about that kind of things. And given the spread of internet, he has the only option for him is to go to the internet, go to the dark web, get the content from there. Because of the hormonal imbalance, and then he's exposed to this content, just real life is not going to be enough for him. So therefore, he starts to try to put it out practically. He starts to talking about girls, talking about actresses, or talking about women in a very bad light. And this is the way that happens for most of the boys. Now that I've spoken about the perspective of a boy and what boys undergo during adolescence and as they go into as they grow into adults, now my question is, at the time of adolescence, be a boy or a girl, they'll be subject to feelings, infatuation, what they perceive as love and other things. This affects their mental health in two ways. Either they can become mentally better off, they have better understanding of their senses, or it can go for the bad side. So what do you think, and how do you think this kind of thing shape up? What is it, what they feel really a feeling, or is it something else?
Oh, yes, Pavan, you have raised a very genuine question because all of us, whether it's you or me, regardless of we are girls or boys, all of us, you undergo this phase of adolescence as we grow up. And even our kids are going to undergo this phase. So, the hormonal changes and everything else concerned with this phase of life is very natural. And it'll be wrong, if I just declare here that developing feelings for someone or getting attracted to someone or maybe even getting into a relationship with someone in this phase would be wrong because it leads to different consequences for every different person. So that's none of our businesses to just declare something like that. But one thing that I can claim here is your mental health is definitely affected, deeply, deeply affected by what inputs you're giving to your mind. So, all our sensory organs, what we hear, what we see, what we touch, all these things are responsible for developing thoughts in our mind. And these thoughts have the power to change the whole chemistry of our body. So they manifest as physical changes. I'll give you an example. Suppose you eat something toxic or something maybe poisoned for dinner at night. So definitely your stomach is going to respond. It's not going to be good. You will have illness in your body. Similarly, when we give in wrong inputs to our mind, we will have mental illnesses, which will lead us to, doing weird things. If we are suppose having a friend who talks about bad things all the time, we are not supposed to be with him. Company matters a lot. In this age, usually children think that their family is not the one who's going to support them, and so they rely a lot upon the lot of friends that they have. So it's very important to ensure by themselves because our parents by that age cannot be behind us all the time. So it's important for us to understand the value of company, how company can lead us to different things, and to have a good company. This is the first prerequisite. What content you're watching, what conversations you're hearing, in what type of conversations or actions are you involving. All these things, are manifested by the thoughts that you develop in your mind, and that thought itself has to be very good. So you have to start seeing the illness in the beginning itself. If it gets late, then the illness spreads as a pandemic. So yeah, different people have different take on this kind of a situation. When we saw the news flashing about the locker room on TV channels and even on social media feeds, every one of us thought in different ways. Some of us thought that the upbringing of these children was not good, while the parents of these children caught in the boys' locker room story, they were all shocked and they have been fooled by their kids for so many years now. Some of us thought that the access to internet is wrong for teenagers. Some of us think that the excess of social media usage is wrong for our kids. Some think that it's all the game of mentality. Some think that blame has to be put on the teachers or on the company, of the children with whom they are dealing with all the time. Everyone has different perspectives. I would like to know what is your take on this kind of a situation. Also, after this, we will be discussing how we can just curb this, how this can be resorted, how we can respond to situations like that, how important is the role of parents, in the process of bringing up their children, especially in the phase of adolescence. How important is it for children to have a good company? How important is it for the children to have someone to counsel them throughout this process? But first, I would like to know what is your take on this situation? What do you think is the cause for this kind of a situation? Also, talking about the concern that you shared, that of course, sex education or things like these are taboo in our society, and some of the parents or some of us are still very shy about discussing these things with our younger siblings or with our kids. In fact, I would say that if your kids or your siblings get the right information at home and get the right environment at home, they can openly discuss or share whatever they are feeling in their mind. They need not rely on platforms like the internet or the other people, other sources. Because whenever we refer to other sources, we rely on other sources, we tend to get in contaminated and exaggerated information. Perspective about something is very important. On one hand, you learn about the changes that you undergo in the age of adolescence from your parents in a very positive manner. On the other hand, you learn about these changes or maybe female body on the internet in different kinds of ways. And then that can lead you to objectify things for others. This happens with both boys and girls, and your perspective changes because your information, the source of your information itself, is very unreliable, is not credible at all. So, if only we, the elder siblings or the parents, could provide the right kind of environment at home and educate our children about everything beforehand, or in the right age at least, our children won't have to find these sources or these information outside the home. And in that case, we can prevent a lot of damage. Also, we will have healthy relations with our children so that before committing a sin, they at least tell us what they are feeling. We won't be shocked like the parents of the boys' locker room participants are shocked right now. Maybe we can do something better for our kids if we provide them the right environment.
Well, I think you're absolutely right when you say that there is a mental health problem and then there's a company one keeps and all that, and even the kind of roles that parents should play, and not just parents but the teachers and all the other factors that evolve around teenagers' lives, be it the school, be it the colleges, be it the homes. And it's essential that we look at the responsibility of parents in a big way, because that's where the children grow up. Because if you look at the old Hindi adage, jaisa baap vaisa beta. So if we want to understand what is the role of the parents, let's start by looking at how a child is brought up. If a child is brought up in a way in a home where the parents do not talk much, or there are always frequent trouble, where the sort of things where the husband beats up the wife and all that kind of things, they play a very important role in developing the way the child perceives the other gender. And to add to this, let's talk about this in a present situation where you have all the hi-fi people and all the middle class and all that. In such societies, or in such middle class families and all that, given that if both the parents are working and all that, they don't have much of time to spend with the children. Therefore, at a young age give they let the children use the mobiles or iPads or whatever it is, and despite all the controls and all that, we know that teenagers and others can understand the things and the technology better than us, or better than the parents, so to speak. And therefore, one has to give the children a sort of a non-tech life, at least till some sort of maybe ages of 12 or 13. Because if you take our own cases, we never used so much of technology, at least until we were at least 10 or maybe even more, maybe 13, 14. And therefore, if that is also a role. Parents should not absolve their responsibility of raising the kids right, and they should also take be proactive rather than being reactive to any problems that the children face, and let the children be open and with their fears, problems, issues, and whatever. The relationship between children and parents during teenage is going to be very delicate, naturally, but the reaction that the parents should show is something of a positive approach, that they have someone to listen to their problem. And if you don't have that, naturally the children will think that their parents are not trustworthy. And this can cause a lot of problems. And therefore, I would like to emphasize on the point of not only raising the kids right without having much of a tech factor during the early stages of their growth, and the other factor that I want to emphasize on is the reaction of the parents, and these two play a lot of important role in developing the perception and the psyche of youngsters. At this juncture, before we move on to talking about how to curb it, I have a pointer to make regarding the locker room talk. What we found is that while in the boys' locker room the girls were objectified and body shamed and all of that, in the girls' locker room, surprisingly, the girls objectified themselves, their own friends. And therefore, when we look at this, it's not a simple girl versus boy issue. What my question here is that what is the impact of pornography and soft porn movies and other stuff, adult content? Some of them are available online openly in most OTT platforms such as Netflix or Amazon Prime. Without Netflix has a sort of a uh, you know child control thing, but that does not work when one is an adult and he's 15 or 17 and he gets a free subscription. He gets a free access rather. So, what do you think is going to be the impact of such content on the psychological factors of adolescents? And how do you see them expressing all of that? If one way is the locker room slut shaming, what do you think are the other ways also? So one's an impact question and the other is the effect in terms of perception and reaction of children.
Yes, Pavan, you've raised a very crucial aspect once again. As important and as beautiful is the role of teachers, parents, siblings, and friends in shaping the character and future of a child and preventing him or her from such cures. Our movies, entertainment platforms, and media platforms are equally important and strong that can influence the mind of our kids. You must have observed when we watch the news about lathi charges happening, people dying out of hunger, tragedies happening, lockdown bringing upon an economic downfall for the country, we become so sad and pessimistic. At the same time, when we watch crime shows, action movies, destruction happening somewhere, we feel agitated. We are very, very angry on such things. Our reaction is very, very angry. Boys playing games like PUBG and all are slowly becoming an extent part of their families. They are not talking to their parents. They are staying away, staying up all night, playing that game, becoming very, very aggressive. These are the changes which, which are brought about in us, which are stimulated in us, I would say, by these games or platforms that we are using. So it's very crucial, to rather invest your time in something creative, soothing, and calming, which can actually help you grow as an individual rather than affect you so wrongly. Same goes with pornology. When you watch such content, you're tempted to try out stuff. I mean, you can be taught about these things, the natural phenomena of birth, in a very beautiful way. How a mother, bears the pain for 9 long months to keep you and then to bring you in this world. Isn't it such a beautiful thing? And what we have made out of it? We have made controversies and actual shit out of this beautiful concept. This is why our children think of girls as objects and not as the ones who are actually holding the world together. The power of women is not felt, and that's why we're able to shame them. And about girls shaming girls, this is the worst thing one can do. I'm really shocked to see little girls being so obsessed with how they look, how their body is. They're all running behind some perfect body concept, which I don't know who conceptualized, and I don't know why was it made. I mean, there's nothing like perfect in this world. Fat girls are criticized because they are fat. Thin girls are criticized because they are thin. Then what exactly should be there? There is nothing called perfect. If you have all your hands and legs, your arms, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, everything in place, you are a human, perfect human. Even if it's not so, you're still a perfect human. Rather than thanking God for creating us so beautifully, we rather focus on making ourselves perfect, which is never gonna happen. And running behind such things, we lose our track. We start eating supplements, we start following some channels for making for, for developing a very good body, attractive body. This is nothing. This is all temporary. And above that, when girls tease girls, objectify girls, female partners for being fat or being thin or being whatsoever, that's the worst thing they can do. When you yourself are not respecting your body, not being confident about how you look, how do you expect someone else outside you in the other community, here the male community, to respect you? They would objectify you because you won't stop objectifying yourself and your female partners, your friends. So, this is what we need right now. We need that our children understand there is nothing called perfection, and while chasing perfection, we just lose our track. Thank God for what you have and be proud of however you look and however you are, because at the end, body does nothing. All that matters is how you think, all that matters is what you speak, all that matters is how you're able to think about the world, to think about the society. What change are you able to bring in the world? I think we have had like a long discussion about this now. Let's end it with a very beautiful note. I want you to suggest some ways, some other ways in which the boys and the girls, the young children can be involved. What hobbies or what activities can they follow? How can they meet their passion? How can they know what they are truly? And how can they love themselves the way they are? Of course, both of us will be sharing our thoughts on it. But first, I would like to know how you think we can engage our children in positive activities. What kind of positive activities?
Thanks for that elaborate answer, Lafreet. It is indeed been thought provoking in ways more than one. When we look at the solutions part, let us be clear on one thing. It is not a 2 minute Maggie solution that we need to look for because it's never going to be solved in a day or two. It takes time, it takes months to form a mindset and even change a mindset, likewise. Therefore, it can be done in various aspects. One thing that we need to understand is that the writing is on or the writing on the wall is very clear that there is a continuous and emphasized role of culture, cultural values, heritage, moral values, through culture, and various books, various epics that you all know, such as the Ramayana, the Mahabharata. All of these tell us that there is and there must be a certain set of values one should be guided by, be it a kid, be it an adolescent student, person or student, or be it an adult. That is why in our Hindu faith or in related faiths, in every part of life, we see that there is a four stages of life, and this once you understand. First is dharma, and the second is kama, and the third is artha, and the fourth is moksha. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That means one should first know what his duties are, and then he has to understand what kind of material pursuits he must pursue. That is what, and then he has to attain the stage of full realization. So it is similar to Maslow's hierarchy, which you see in management. This factor has to be embedded into whatever we teach in our schools, because teaching in schools is not just should not be just academic, math, science, social, history, etc. There should be a course or at least partly a subject which is not related to the examinations. Rather, it should be a continuous process throughout the schooling from ages of 12 maybe, preferably till 17 till the 12th grade. One should have a course on what is moral intelligence, what is emotional intelligence, and there should be various aspects to it. This is as far as solutions with regard to students are concerned, schools, colleges, all of that. The next part is home. What is what kind of values you need to teach at home, or all of that? In my opinion, what one can do is tell the student, teachers, or even parents and others that through in their workplaces and all of that, that place family also on equal level with work. Do not substitute your family for work, because that is the reason a lot of parents are forced to leave their children at the mercy of gadgets and electronic devices, and not focus on the children. And there is and also a growing need for a parental bond, a bond with children and the parents, more so now than any time else. And that is my view on this. I'd like to see what your views are on the same issue, and how do you feel, or what do you feel are the solutions to changing the mindset and controlling this kind of an issue. There's the law aspect, which I would think is too large for us at the moment to talk about. I'd like to know what is your aspect on this. Before you answer and put in your views and conclude this session, I'd like to state that there is a modernity aspect and a debate of modernity versus tradition in this aspect also. Because if one says that talking about sex is a taboo and all that, that means one is conforming to the modern idea that it should be open, we should not talk about it. Well, if you look at our ancient scriptures and all of that, they talk about it openly. They don't hide anything, and therefore modernity is very much about uh, keeping things open and being transparent about issues. But it is also not just a one-dimensional materialistic issue. Modernity complemented with your ancient customs or traditions or culture or values is a very good equation that can help one get a very broad understanding and shape the mindset to do and look at things positively. And it is thus important to impart such a skill set at school level and not call it something like that we are going back to all the olden days, all of that. Well, in the olden days, we did not have any of these problems, and therefore it was a much better place back then, in my opinion.
Yes, unfortunately, like most of the other things, character building or mentality development cannot be done in just one click. It's sad though to see how human values is becoming a subject now, which is added to our curriculum, while once this used to be the very basis of our existence and was inculcated in children by setting examples. Though there is no scientific definition of parenting and there is no guide whatsoever which can teach us how to be a perfect parent, obviously, everyone has their own way. But handing over a mobile phone to your children just so that they keep quiet and you don't have to take the pain of soothing your children or handling them crying is definitely not a good sign. Here I would like to highlight the importance of spirituality. So most people, they usually confuse spirituality with religion. Of course, all the religious scripts recommend us to the righteous way of living, and those who follow them, kudos to you. But even if you don't believe in any religion, being a sincere follower of spirituality can definitely help you out. If our children are directed to go inside rather than going out for any kind of information, they will definitely live a better life. Meditation, self introspection, these are some of the practices which are by far the best ones to understand yourself and learn the real meaning of life. That way they won't feel pity about themselves or they won't think wrongly about others. The need for harassment comes either if you are inconfident about yourself or you want to take a revenge. So, students, especially teenagers, must be motivated to practice self introspection. Apart from this, modernity versus tradition is a debatable issue otherwise, Pavan. But in this situation, you won't believe it's just the right combination. Earlier, as you said, we did not have social media, we had no content that could affect the mind of our children, we had no technology at all, basically. So, we didn't need discussions or counseling regarding these issues. Now we are at a place where progress is the only path. Understanding the need for education, certain chapters have been incorporated in our science textbooks. But that's not the right way of teaching kids, where both the teacher and the student are uncomfortable. And most of the students are not even attending those classes. What we need is modern thoughts supported by traditional actions. We need to sensitize students towards the consequences of ill thinking and wrong practices. The increasing number of rape cases, harassment, body shaping, this clearly shows where our kids are heading. The way we educate our children regarding sensitive issues has to be worked on. Giving them the insights from Vedas and other pious texts is a very good way. Staying connected with them and keeping a check on their activity is very important. Understanding your child's behavioral changes, how he walks, how he talks, how he reacts to certain situations, if he's friendly or aggressive, with you, and if he or she is stressed for some reason is very important because you might miss a chance of supporting them and stopping them from following the wrong path, you see. From this, we should encourage them to develop hobbies. Social media involvement has affected our kids to a level that modern kids don't have any hobbies, and that's sad. I mean, if I ask someone, this is a real story. A first year student came up to me and I asked her, "What's your hobby?" She was stressed, it seemed, and one of her friends got her to me, and he wanted me to counsel her and know, what she's feeling, what's troubling her. The first question I asked her was, "What's your hobby?" She was a girl of BTech first year and she had no hobbies. I mean, that's really sad. Their happiness and sorrow, everything relies on social media. They have absolutely no option of rejuvenation. They have no method of rejuvenation. If we are fed up of social media, if we have a fight with our friend on social media, we would go and start writing a blog, we would go and start painting something, we would just play on music, start dancing, start singing, start cooking. Where are these hobbies? I mean, why do kids today not have these hobbies? If they are stressed, they'll remain stressed. In fact, they'll get into depression eventually because they have nothing at all to distract them from social media. Also, when it comes to good utilization of internet, online education, courses and motivational videos like the ones from Sadhguru or BK Shivani, they help a lot. Trust me, it can just soothe all your worries while guiding you towards the right path. It's that amazing and that effective. You can explore many such videos and many such options, amazing options on the internet. It's not just Sadhguru and BK Shivani doing the good work. There are number of other spiritual leaders who are doing this. You can use it as a tool to propagate the message of unity, love, and happiness among your peers in the world rather than speaking crap about others. Use it as a medium of spreading love among people. So that's what is the real use of these resources. It's not how we are using them right now. That's the worst way. The best way is to understand the importance of this resource, the intensity of effect through this resource, and then use it to make a good change in the world. Already the world needs so much positivity. The one time you spread something positive, it's going to affect so many people. You never know. Sometimes a good positive quote that you share on WhatsApp can actually be a day changer, a mood changer for someone. And that's what you're supposed to do. I think we have discussed quite a lot about this topic. Being one of the most important concerns in human life, views and ideas in this direction can be endless. And in the times to come, we might have to think of more modern solutions for this modern problem. Well, for now, I think it should be the best to conclude the topic by reminding every one of us regarding our responsibilities. Beware of the vicious groups active on the social media platforms, and those who have already become the targets, let's help us let's help them by focusing on good things in life. Let's use social media platforms for all the good possible. And as the title of my blog suggests, let's be our own unmet best friends.